Hi guys, welcome to the Rugby Digest. This is the World Cup semi-final review and we're back and we're flaring. I'm Chelsea and with me I have Jacob and Zubair.
Hello, hello.
Yo, guys.
Okay, so you can hear we got some happy voices in the room. I wonder why. So the format of tonight's podcast is the usual. Like we're going to do the breakdown of the weekend's games. Obviously, for those of you who have just tuned in or haven't been watching the World Cup at all, that would be South Africa against Wales, New Zealand against England. Our takeaways in terms of standout players, general takeaways from those games, as well as early finals predictions. I think this is going to be a pretty big call, but we'll do it anyway. So to kick it off, let's look at the Springbok versus Wales game.
Yeah, it was never going to be pretty, but we got the result we needed. We beat Wales for the first time. We snapped a losing streak of 4 games. So, yeah, we did the job. You know, they always say the World Cup semi-final is the toughest one because you don't want to lose at that stage. Everybody just wants to get to the final. So it was, like we said, it's never going to be pretty.
I totally agree with you. I mean, we knew it was going to be a kickathon, but I think we kicked, I think, what was the stats? Like, we kicked
Over
63% of our possession and they kicked 64% of their possession. It was ridiculous.
Both teams kicked over 40 times in the game. It's unbelievable. That's more than a kick a minute, vibes.
It was always going to come down to fine margins in a game like that. So,
Absolutely.
Look, I think talent shone through. Our team, we have similar game plans, so I'm not surprised that it was as close as it was. And to be honest, other than when they had that penalty in like the 70th minute, kicking towards kicking for touch, other than that, I wasn't worried for a second necessarily throughout that game.
Yeah, well, we were never behind at any stage in the game. So, as a Bok fan, you could kind of hold on to that. They were always chasing the game throughout.
And we're hitting them backwards all the time. How solid they were running into a brick wall.
Yeah, we made big hits. We won the game
endlessly.
Most of the game.
But I think both of you raise a valid point. There was a clear disparity between the great elements of our team and the tactics we were putting out there and the slightly weaker side of things. And we mentioned it last week. We said that it was going to come down to the aerial battles, and my God, did it come down to the aerial battles. I mean, there were moments where it was looking like a scene out of like Swan Lake. There was more aerial going on than anything else, and as we called it, Wales bought that game.
Yeah.
And they dominated that side of things.
Lee Halfpenny,
so good in the air. Colby, man.
Yes,
I mean, Faf put up some.
He did, but
yeah, Lee Halfpenny kind of dominated. Wales dominated that aerial battle.
Definitely. I mean, towards the end of the game, I think it evened itself out.
Yes, like
they made some errors
in that final 10 minutes. I think they knocked on like a couple of eyeballs, and it just like took all the pressure off once we got ahead. Which was just at the vital stage because they were so solid throughout the whole game in that aerial battle. And what I found a lot in the game, and we've said this over a long time, like we'll put up eyeballs, but the chase is not good.
We don't compete. We don't even compete.
Yeah, Oaks are not even jumping into the air. And the few times that we did jump in the air, like Nkosi got in the air and like
he got his arms around
it, or just put the player coming forward off.
But that speaks to a lack of follow-up. If you're going to put something out there, be prepared to chase it down. And that for me was lacking. The minute you put that ball to your boot and it takes any form of air, like you've got to be prepared to chase it down. And if you don't have men running in front in order to do that, then what the fuck are you actually doing?
Look, if that's Colby going up in the air, potentially wins that and scores a try or something, you know? It's completely different.
Agree, but there's no strategy behind those aerial
guys,
balls.
look, we were literally chatting about Cheslin Colby being potentially the best player in the world 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
Let's be real here. Like, we definitely are missing him, especially after someone's performance.
Oh, so can we get to it? Because I mean, I've been sitting on this. I actually wanted
Can
to
we
do.
just,
Okay, fine. Should we hold back?
Yes, let's maybe not go with the negatives initially. What are your thoughts on like the Bok performance actually?
I think it took a while. It was very much a diesel engine show. It took a while to warm up, but once it hit steam, it was going.
How strong was our bench?
Jeez.
No, it's just
Marks
very
and
sexy
Kitty off the bench was so good.
Kids off Marks and Koch.
Koch, jeez. Jeez, that
Oh,
entire
Archie
front
Kemp
row.
was it's
Unbelievable. That's possibly the best front row in the world, and they're coming off our bench.
We blew them away.
Nobody can compete with those guys. Like, I think if we're going to win this weekend, that's going to go a long way. Those three coming off the bench. Yeah,
see.
even RG Master, flow low with a vital
Jeez,
play.
flow low. Just experience, man.
Yeah, he gave away the penalty that led
To their try, but no, that
Well,
was
no,
Franco
that-
Masters actually.
He gave away the penalty that led to the kick into our 22.
Oh,
I think,
yes,
Going
yes.
into that last 10 minutes.
And then he won it back, yeah.
Absolutely vital.
What I was particularly impressed to see is, for once, I didn't feel like a mom going, you shouldn't have done that, and discipline. And that the Booker discipline was phenomenal. I mean, I don't know what kind of drilling they've gone through, if there's been a psychological evaluation and they all know their trigger points. But, you know, there was that particular moment where Faf decided to take on not one but two guys and still maintained composure. And you
Yeah.
could see that that was one of Wales's tactics, was clearly just to get under our skin and unsettle us. And where previously that would have definitely been an ignition source, it was shut down. It was like, okay, Oaks, let's have a laugh.
Yeah.
We have been saying this for a little
And it
bit,
was
like just
really
how
nice to see
professional we
that.
have been. Like, there is no issue with discipline in our team.
At all.
It's,
At any
it's
stage.
truly amazing because just our brand as a rugby nation has been built off intimidation and like physicality, which we're still doing.
Brute force.
But we're not even like, not a little argy-bargy
No.
or a little
And there were a couple
trash
of,
talk,
there were a
you know,
couple
like,
of potential flares.
guys just doing their jobs out there.
But look,
Amazingly.
I think it's also because we carry that little bit of swagger now. We know we're the most physical team in the world and we own it, you know? Like we know we are literally destroying you guys at breakdown, scrum, you know, getting the most go forward, hitting you backwards all the time. Like Oaks are putting the hits in, you know,
Exactly.
releasing that little bit of tension
But
in
it
the
was
tackle.
nice. It
I'm
was
loving
nice
it.
to see.
Everybody knows what they're doing. Like, there's not one person who doesn't know what he has to do on this field. Like, they've all got a clear plan and they're sticking to it. And they know that because it's worked. They've seen now over the last year, this year specifically, if you stick to the plan,
It works.
it works because we've won.
We've
how
only
many-
lost
yeah,
one game, and that was to New Zealand in the first game. of the World
Exactly.
Cup,
So, the confidence is high in the squad.
I mean, overall, just from what we know that we're good at, we only lost one line out.
Yes, it's our first line out loss
Yeah,
for the
like,
year, possibly.
Like I was telling you, I'm actually glad that we lost our first lineup to Wales. So there wasn't that pressure coming to the game, you know, all the talk around our lineout being the
Yes.
best, whatever. Even though everybody knows that, but it's more the 100% record, like
Yeah.
in the game mentally. So I'm glad that that got out the way. And should we actually have a little talk about that guy?
Oh, okay.
Jerome Garces.
Oh, that guy. Oh, damn.
Yeah,
Okay.
dude.
What a game.
We actually had this discussion yesterday after the game, and we were driving home, and we're just like, you know what? Like, he actually did the job, and he did the job well. Like, we can't actually say for 1 minute make the ref a talking point, and the only reason why we're mentioning him is because he did a great job.
He was particularly good and consistent throughout the game.
As far as ref performances go, he was sensational.
By World Cup standards.
Probably the best performance at the World Cup
It's
so far.
up there, definitely.
Other than one of the Wayne Barnes performances.
Yes,
You know?
but like in such a high pressure game, you know, with tempers flaring every now and then, we know that Wales came with that little niggly. They tried to get under our skin. Everything was calm. Obviously, there are always going to be debatable penalties around the breakdown.
Yeah.
But in essence, like if we look at the penalty count, it was 9 against South Africa and 8 against Wales. So it's
So
like
it's fair.
relatively even.
Yeah, I mean, it evened itself out towards the end of the game because I think just before Wales scored, we had 9 penalties against us and they had 4. So they conceded 4 in that last 20,
Yeah.
whereas we conceded none.
And that shows like how strong our bench is. Because we're winning those scrum penalties in that last 20 or 30 minutes. we're winning those more penalties because how are you stopping Malcolm Marx?
And Kitsoff
and Vincent Koch.
Well, not with these.
Yeah, and generally teams are bringing off. There is a drop off especially in that
first
front
string
row.
and second string.
Exactly.
And
Whereas
we don't necessarily have
We
a
don't.
first string or second string.
string.
It's
And
a
I think that's
dangerous
great.
weapon.
Is the
It's
guys feel equal coming on. They don't have to prove themselves. They know that their starting guys are just as good as their bench. And that's great for someone who's starting to know, you know what, I'm going off the field. I put in like 150% here, but I know who's coming on is going to pick up the exact same pace.
Yeah, I love that Sia touched on that after the game.
and
But
there's no substitute for that kind of camaraderie that they have as a
yes.
squad.
Well,
I
just
mean, in the
Belief in each other.
yeah, I mean, this weekend, I wouldn't be surprised if Rassie switched it up a little bit. I mean, all of these guys have gotten similar amounts of minutes. I know that the last couple of games, we kind of have stuck to a certain strategy, and it's worked. But I wouldn't be surprised if we started a little Kitsy or just throwing somebody else in the mix.
But
you know?
that's the absolute pleasure of this team. And I mean, I think Rassie can be quite excited about being a coach of this caliber of team, is that he has the flexibility to do that and doesn't have to doubt his decision in doing it.
For me, we had this discussion post game where, and I thought about it during the game, was that when it became 16-all and Wales got that penalty, I was just like,
Yeah,
should we
tensions
have
are up.
started Marx, Kitsoff, and
Really?
Koch? Because should we have put this game to bed early? You know, we discussed like the fast start that we needed, and like it could have gone either way at that stage. Like 8 minutes to go,
Yeah.
just outside our 22, we could lose that game. Like
Yeah.
I was a bit worried, but I thought, like thinking about it now, it's just no other team can bring that skill level off the bench and at that higher level. If we are in the game, we can chase a team down, basically bringing those guys off the bench, as opposed to us bringing Malherbe, Beast off the bench, Bongi off the bench. You know.
I mean, I wasn't saying we'll start that entire front row, but I mean, just switching it up slightly, ever so slightly. Just for whatever reason, a tactical reason, starting a Malcolm Marx, attack the breakdown early, something like that.
Yeah.
Switch it up.
This also speaks to how Rassie's identified his players. And I mentioned it earlier, is like you get the guys that are very much a diesel engine. It takes them a while to get into the flow of things, and then they hit the tempo, and then they're good to go.
Yes.
And then you got guys who like Ferrari, straight off the start, no priming needed, they're good to go. And I think that's exactly what he's done with this format in terms of who he starts and who's sitting on his bench. And the guys who he starts are maybe those guys that take a while to warm up, but once they're in it, they're good to go.
The thing is, like with the guys coming off the bench, is they have an extra skill set that the players who are starting don't have. So if I look at just the front row alone, not to take anything against Frans Malherbe, Beast, or
Who's looking very
Bongi
trim at the
off-
moment.
just like in the starting lineup, they're all playing amazing rugby. They just don't have that extra skill set of they can make a steal at the breakdown. They can throw an offload, like we've spoken about those 1%ers. Malcolm Marx can do the same. Bongi, he could probably do it. All of these players could probably do it, but it's not really part of the.
But
Look,
it's not
I'm gonna play
intuitive.
breakout.
It's not
Even
intuitive for
RG.
them.
If we need to break it open, you don't want to be having Frans Malherbe or Beast. You know where you need
Look,
to. throw
I'm
that
gonna play
offload.
the devil's advocate here, and look, this is a World Cup final we're talking about. You just told me that we all agree that they are more skilled than our starting front three. I mean, front row.
Yes. As a
So-
combination.
They got an
It's
X
the
You know,
best
as
in
a,
the
as a
world.
combination and what they bring to the game. So surely you would want those Oaks to play more in the game. So because generally your front row gets taken off for what, around the 50th minute mark, potentially some of them at 60. So surely we would want them to be playing longer. It's a World
I
Cup
agree. I
final.
mean,
this
if-
goes back to Chelsea's thing about the diesel engine. Like a Frans Malherbe and a Beast, they slow burners. They're not I can make an impact if I need to. If we are down by 5, 6, 7 points against England, you don't want to be bringing. I get your point, but
I would
you're
rather
going to
burn
need
them
those
out of the-
1%ers
yeah,
as
exactly.
opposed to
The game changers.
So, and we've seen RG, Kitsy, all of those they've been playing super tight. They
Yeah,
haven't been throwing those offloads. RG even. It's not like he's been tearing it up, like ripping it up in the tight game. So
I
they
think
can
we could,
play it
though.
tight. But if they need to, I would rather have them coming off the bench in the final 20.
Agreed.
It's very interesting. So now, do you want to go on to your boy finally?
Okay, so like guys, I've constantly bought up Villy Leroux, and I have serious reservations about why he's been selected in the squad, why he's constantly selected to play the games that he has played. I honestly, I don't get nervous about anyone else on the field but him. And I get even more nervous when he comes anywhere near the ball and then he has to make a decision. And that frightens me, that a man sitting in that back line who actually is the brains trust. I mean, with the SA team is slightly reversed because the brain trust sits at the front. But I do feel that a player out the back should be able to make instinctive decisions that will improve what's currently happening on the field. Because he's sitting in the pilot seat. He can see everything happening. He's got
Not
full
only that,
vision.
he's got the best back in the world in front of him, giving him front foot ball
And-
all the time. Like every single time you're getting ball, it's
and maybe those two play into each other. Is it because our front row is so unbelievably good that he can just rest on his laurels, and if he fucks up, someone else will save him?
Yes.
But it's not good enough. And there are other players out there who won't consistently fuck it up.
Yeah, his basic skill level on the weekend, he
His-
dropped a couple of high
Oh.
balls into touch. He gave away 2 penalties, one which led to 3
I
points,
just
and
can't.
another one.
For me, it was a
You
complete
guys-
and utter
He has
shocker.
brain fades all the time, like multiple times within a game. We were talking about the error count. Like his error count on the weekend alone was 4 in total on his own. Dude, you can't have one player who is
For me, if you're
making
looking...
4 or 5 errors a game, and this is consistently every game. Simple, basic errors,
Exactly.
not like
For
trying
me,
flashy things.
I think the cliche rings true here. Are you the weakest link? Goodbye.
I completely agree with you guys, and to be honest, like Charles was saying, those split-second decisions, and then not only that, just being able to pull off something simple. We're not asking you to do much, mate. Just do simple things. Take your catches. You don't have to do much in the whole
How are you
game.
giving away penalties like at a ruck?
I
You're a
know.
fucking fullback, mate. What the fuck are you doing? Like,
Why?
that leads to 3 points in a fucking World Cup semi-final.
And maybe I'll give this guy enough rope to hang himself. And I'll put this out there. Is maybe Rusty's game plan does not suit Villy's style of play. And maybe that's why these fuck-ups we see are so glaringly obvious.
That's a great point, because we really do just play simple rugby. Everybody just does the simple things well, and he just doesn't do that. Like, he doesn't. It's a real worry. What I did like though is that he actually took Villy off. This was the first time in this World Cup that he took Villy off directly for Frans Steyn. Frans Steyn has been coming on at centre, he's been coming on different positions, but it's the first time he's taken off Villy. And it was at a crucial moment. It was in like
It
the
was 16, 16.
68th minute.
Yeah, it was
69th
16,
minute.
16
So like,
at the time.
you're going into the championship minutes here of a World Cup semi-final. And yes, we do have that option of Frans Steyn because he has played in a World Cup final before. He's won a World Cup.
Look,
I just think he's more solid.
I
going
think Frans Steyn, that point that you guys brought up about the forwards, do you not think that, I mean, we'll see in the lineups later this week, but Frans Steyn starting in a World Cup final wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. At
No.
fullback, we just bring Colby back in. Think about it. He can kick from 50. If we genuinely need that X factor coming into the last 20, bringing on all those other guys, Villy would, if anything, that's where he would thrive.
And the funny
Way
thing
more.
is, like, Frans Steyn can play. So Frans Steyn can cover centres, whereas like Villy can play flyer, fullback, wing. He's played all of those positions. So it's not a bad shout at all. It's not like, it's pretty much a like for like as well.
And he offers more.
Frans Steyn offers 100 kgs of aerial threat even. Like just
And
Aerial
solidity.
threat.
rugby brains.
Rugby brains can hit a drop goal
Halfway
from 60
line.
meters. I've
Yeah,
seen him hit a
drop
drop goal from
goals.
60 meters.
And also, he's not new. There's
He's
no
won a World Cup.
exactly. So
Fuck, he's the only player we have
that
who's won a World
experience
Cup.
counts for a lot.
And he's not playing bad rugby.
And he also understands what it's like for some of the younger guys in the squad. You know, he was
pressure
so
will
young
make-
in that situation.
He was.
Yeah.
So, I remember. Yo.
He was, and he took the reins because he played at 12 throughout. Jean
Yeah.
Villiers got injured in the first game.
Sure, that was
I-
heartbreaking.
I think just some other players to mention. I think I controlled myself. By the
Yes.
way, about
You
Philly.
did.
Because you should have heard my
because
language over the
we
weekend.
have literally been speaking about this on every pod since the first pod we've had.
Yeah.
Every
much.
single pod
So,
we've mentioned him.
I'm
So
actually going to put this Willy point to bed because
it's the last game now.
I
Like,
just
it's the last game of the
can't
season.
anymore. But I do think there were some serious standout players that have to be mentioned. For me, I quite liked the Faf Pollard combo that I saw come into play. I also liked Pollard's involvement. Like, instead of just like waiting for the ball to come to him and then making a play, like that man was picking up that ball and getting involved.
Yes. In that
That's
last
what I like about
15,
Pollard, though.
In the
That's
last
what I like
15,
about him.
it's the first time we've seen him take the ball to the line.
Like, there was actually some hardness behind him that
Break led to us
Usually.
winning that game, basically, or scoring our try.
which once again speaks to a rugby brain, which I'm very happy
Look,
to
guys, I think we all know, and everybody listening to this podcast knows that there are way more levels to all of our players. I mean, they can throw those offloads. They can do so much more. But we're just keeping it simple. If we need to, I back us to do it. We saw with the Pollard try, how good was that offload to Marks and then
Yes.
quick
just
play.
Twice in that play, he was involved
Yeah.
quickly.
made the break. So we've held a lot back from our game. We've actually, the game against Wales, that's actually not, England can't analyse anything from that game.
Yes.
Well,
It was-
let me tell you, Eddie Jones, I saw him in the crowd, was looking
But he knows,
very
dude,
good.
it's Eddie Jones. He
Yeah.
knows that we are
He was
also
working
holding
over
back.
week.
We
Yes,
know what all of our
definitely.
players are capable of. Another player who has to be mentioned is Damian.
Oh.
What a try.
Sorry, who called it as MVP? Zubayr did.
Yeah.
Last
Told
one.
you guys.
He could possibly be the best 12 at this World Cup. Like, he'll probably get in the team of the tournament.
Definitely. After that try,
Because he's
definitely.
had 2 amazing games in a World Cup quarterfinal and semi-final in a row now. If he can pull it off this, like, he could even get player of the
All
tournament.
he has to do is maintain parity against Tuilangi. Or just injure Farrell early.
Because he'll
That
be
would be
directly up
epic.
against Farrell.
Farrell's on one leg. He's there for the
Yeah.
taking.
He's getting serious. Well, we've said this as well. Like, as the pod has kind of progressed, is that in the early days we said, just give him the basic things to do. You know,
And he
you
does
don't
it well.
need
Do it well.
to. Don't ask him to do all the tricks and the flicks. Just ask him to run straight, take it up with first pace, get involved, use his physicality, and then we know his defense is fucking quality. He's basically an extra loose forward. For us.
Yeah, he
he's
is
100
so
But
kgs
he's
and he
a-
attacks the
He's a
breakdowns hard.
classic case of a workhorse that you want. And it, as you say, you tell him this is the plan, this is what you got to do, and he does it.
And he's doing it so well at the moment. He's doing like the basic things just really well. Like a lot of our
Yeah.
players are at this stage.
Sensational performance. But another consistent performer, Peter Steff. Let's have a little chat about that guy. I mean,
Yeah.
19 tackles in the game.
He had a big one.
Yeah, he did.
And he made big hits, eh? Like
He
he hit
was
Oaks there.
smashing
So,
Oaks.
a lot of those balls that were going out the back, he was hitting those guys. Yeah, he must have gained a lot of meters on defense. He was sensational. I thought that was a true like blindside performance, you know?
Similar to
It's-
a Juan Smith.
It's very
performance.
much gone out of the game now, where a lot of teams like New Zealand play 2 open-siders, Australia, even England now play 2
Yeah,
open-siders. We're the only team who still plays that solid blindside, and that was just a world-class blindside performance. It was truly sensational.
These are the margins, eh? I mean, just having that blindside could make all it. Dude, Peter Steff.
Physicality, man.
I wouldn't be surprised if he scored a try in the final.
I'm
Yes.
hoping. I'm
Yeah.
really hoping.
We've been wanting to see him in full flight.
Could
I
be
think
the-
everybody has.
Listen,
could be the best player
there
in
are
the
a lot
world,
of
like, if
there are a
he's-
lot of guys I want to be seeing making
The man of the
tries.
match performance this weekend is he wins World Player of the Year.
Like
He's been that
Guaranteed.
good this
Like
year.
we can literally go like Peter Steff would be amazing to like see score a try. Damian, amazing. Like, if you get that try in, I'm stoked.
Anyone, just...
But you know what a sneaky little one for me as a try is, and I get so happy whenever I see it, is Kitsy. Just getting one over the try line.
Little Kitty
deserves
for
one.
the
I don't
win.
think he has it, Tessa. He might have one or two.
In this World
I
Cup.
don't know.
I
No.
mean, I think that would
Doesn't have a try
really,
yet.
really cement that for him.
But yeah,
So, guys, I
it's
think
a good
I think
performance.
to round up this game, the Boks going into the final, we're coming in as underdogs. But to be fair, I don't really mind that. I mean, I think a lot of people wrote us off early and were just like, you know what, at the end of the day, this is a purely physical team. This is all they got to offer. And I actually think we've shown a lot more. And I'm more than okay that everyone else decided to write us off. The odds aren't looking too good for us next week. But, you know, that's even more reason for people to put money on them. Because they've shown they can do it.
There's a lot more in this Bok tank, which we haven't shown.
I'm loving it.
Yes.
Twitter is great right now. I'm actually thoroughly enjoying watching the Pongs. Like,
Yeah, they're loving it. They're
They
basically
are.
the best team of all time. At this
yeah,
stage.
apparently they are. So, and apparently we don't stand a chance. Their level of play, their physicality, their
I mean,
guys.
It's
there's gonna be
fascinating.
some English fan out there who made the same mistake as an All Black fan and will get it tattooed on him. And
So shall we go? Through
Yeah,
that
let's-
game?
let's go
Let's
straight
go
into
that game because that
There's-
was another epic.
so I mean, this was England taking it 19-7, and England produced one of the most complete performances ever seen in a World Cup or any game of rugby for that matter. I am personally, and I'm going to state this early, England had nothing to lose going in, and they had everything to gain. They don't even know what the taste of a World Cup win feels like.
Well, none of these players.
Yeah,
but
none of these players.
Which
2003
I
they
think adds a massive dynamic change to things. You know, All Blacks, they understand, and they are very much on resting, maybe it's not resting on their laurels, but they know that feeling of victory. It's almost become so monotonous to them that it's an expectation. Whereas the English have got nothing to lose, and it's all in, give it horns.
Look, I
And it
think
showed.
we can all agree that Steve Hansen is just an arrogant prick. Like, how do you not have Ben Smith, Rico, Crotty,
dude, what
dude,
the
even
fuck?
in
How's
your
Ryan
match day squad,
How's
or let
Lamarca
alone
not
starting.
even in the squad? Because in a game like that also, sometimes you just need somebody to get over the gain line. Like, there was just no gain line from
And
New Zealand
just
at all.
in that specific circumstance, you know, there was always the possibility that England score early. I think they've scored in the first 15-20 minutes of pretty much every game they've played.
They start
So
quickly.
they start quickly. You need experience. Like, if you're going down in the first 2 minutes of the game, who are your impact players? You know, like, also I wasn't like Moanga was nowhere in that game.
Yeah, dude, Ford had a stormer.
He
Like,
did. He was involved.
I was so impressed with his game. Like, even when Farrell couldn't kick, he slotted everything. He looked just so composed. But do you know where this whole thing started actually? Is at the haka, dude. Like, it has to be mentioned because when was the last time? The last time was 2011 in the final where France did a similar thing. They did the arrow. Thierry Dusautoir led it. But watching it, it was one of the lowest intensity hakas I'd seen, like, in a long time. Like, just watching it at home.
No
seeing
fire
it,
in the
I've seen it,
eyes.
every haka of theirs, basically, in big games. I don't know if they were caught off guard with the England tactics, but it was definitely a factor. That haka had no intensity. I don't know what it was.
They didn't have the fire in their eyes, you know.
And it
They-
showed out on the field. They
Jeez,
couldn't win
from the
collisions.
first minute.
Dude, they could not win collisions at all throughout the entire game. It is
Yeah.
actually, I've never seen that before, ever.
What, New Zealand?
New Zealand
getting it backwards all the time.
just not turning up at all. You know, last week we gave Ireland a lot of shit for their performance against New Zealand. We should be giving New Zealand the same amount of shit because if England were more clinical in this game, it could have been a similar scoreline. It should have been. New England were 20 plus points, even more on top of one.
And New Zealand were lucky to score.
They could have had a 0. The RD try, that was a mistake from England lineup. So they were shit, mate. Like, say it how it is. They brought no intensity to the game. Simple as that.
Jeez, England just went over the gain line pretty much every phase.
At all. There was not one big hit like we discussed last week.
I think what was most surprising about that for us was when we watched the England Australia game.
Yeah.
Australia was smashing them backwards in like the first 50 minutes, 60 minutes of that game. So the fact that we didn't even see New Zealand hitting England backwards much.
It shows the lack of intensity.
Yeah.
But it also
Immediately.
And you see here's the flip side of it is you learn in iterations. So where you fucked up A, you're not going to make that same fuck up B. Whatever fuck ups you make up in B, you're not going to make up in C. And that comes down to also a level of coaching and player understanding. So Eddie Jones is drilling it hard into him. You made those fuck ups there, that's not happening again.
Yeah. It comes back to the Steve Hansen thing, where how do you not have Ben Smith or Ryan Crotty, who, as we've discussed in this pod, are two of the best rugby brains in the world. You have that level of player and you're not even having them in your squad. Like, you can bring off the bench just to calm people down, to talk to guys. Like, think about, you have Sevu Reece and you have George Bridge, who, fuck, they both have less than 10 caps. And
I thought
it's just confusing.
Excluding Rico even was so unnecessary.
There's maybe a coaching complacency. Like when you are
Arrogance
surrounded,
even, possibly.
completely.
Like I said,
When you're surrounded with gold stars like he is, like we are. I mean, what?
More in the forwards for us, whereas for them it's in the back.
So
Yeah,
it's
the
not
entire
The
making,
fact that with those four
like
players that
not
we
making
mentioned,
blatantly obvious selections. That we're sitting here going, but why didn't you select Crotty? Like, come on.
yeah, it smacks of a bit of arrogance.
definitely.
Because it's like, we can roll out whoever we want and we'll play the game we want to, and our
And
position doesn't matter.
I'm entirely sure the lack of Vuma that we saw or didn't see from the All Blacks, I'm sure this kind of came through in the dressing room. And I'm sure that these selections didn't go unnoticed by the All Black team.
Yeah. I mean, you're leaving out fucking Ben Smith, mate. Like,
Just
It would have been
to
his
have in
last-
the dressing room,
It would
man.
have been his
Just
last
on
anything.
World
your
Cup.
bench, mate. Like, think about, they brought on fucking Geordie Barrett and he fucked out so hard.
Well,
Like,
they
he
were
actually
they were
completely-
doing nothing. They
Before that
literally
either,
even before
but
then.
just
I don't
think
think he did
the
play.
brains that Ben Smith
really
could bring
shit.
off the bench.
But for me, I always thought, and I think we discussed it, that their backup plan was always supposed to be a Bowden back to number 10 and potentially Ben Smith at fullback. Immediately, you don't lose anything. If anything, you're better like that.
You have the best
So-
fly-off in the world.
And the best fullback in the world. So it literally
it's
makes
just so fucking confusing.
0 sense.
Yeah, it's New Zealand really shut the bed with this one.
Yeah.
But
I mean, starting Scott Barrett as well.
yes, it was a big factor. England attacked them at the breakdown. Let's talk about those boys.
Jeez, Underhill and Curry
Those
were
young kids.
everywhere. That was
Uh,
sensational.
Yeah, that was a sensational performance. There's no other way to say it.
Plus making massive hits.
Andale made some of the biggest hits I've seen in a long time. And just technique, like driving from low,
Smashing.
knocking Oaks back.
She's
and
made
then
one
Curry
massive
was
hit
just
on Sunny Bull.
destroying the breakdown. They absolutely monstered New Zealand at the breakdown. New Zealand went for Scott Barrett as the fourth line-out option, or the fifth line, and their line-out fucked up. Like,
Their lineup was so
Yes.
bad, and England just had 3 lineup
England-
jumpers or something.
yeah, England's even stole a couple early,
Yeah.
which was vital. It was very interesting, but we've discussed the whole New Zealand decline, in inverted commas, or are they not as good as we thought or everybody thought they are? And we've said this 2 months ago.
Guys,
On
go
the
listen
six-
to our first podcast.
Podcast, yeah.
Literally the
First
first
one.
20 minutes we mentioned it.
We have been saying that New Zealand are not necessarily as good as everyone makes them out to be. If you look at that, just the tight 5, their front row is pretty fucking abs, mate. Like Joe Moody and
Joe
Nicola
Moody
Rala.
is shit.
They can't. They have zero skills.
Made sense not to bring Owen Franks.
There's
as
no
well.
dominance. If you're looking at their bench, like those Oaks are not even making like South African Super Rugby sides.
Yeah.
Like
Other than Dane Coles, maybe.
Ta'ava and Tuunga Fasi are never gonna be world class
Not a
props.
chance.
They're lacking a lot in the forwards, which nobody has touched on in this World
Yeah,
Cup.
I mean, Sam Whitelock's looking old. He's coming along.
Even
I mean,
Reid is done now.
Yeah,
but then
definitely.
going back to that old point is the New Zealand team is old. They are tired. They are
They
done.
No,
They are
in the forwards
overworked.
maybe a little bit, but not so much in the backs.
yeah. They,
So,
they have
But
a lot
it's
of
been
votes coming through.
for me it's been a very sad fall from grace, because I mean you would at least want these guys to go out firing, and
Fuck these guys.
Fuck all of those
They've
guys.
had,
Yeah.
How many years of dominance? And
Honestly.
you actually feeling sorry for
Fuck
these
those
I don't
guys.
feel sorry for them. I just would have thought, you know, like
Yeah, are they really as good
As
as
we-
everybody
exactly.
has been thinking?
so.
I'm like the
We've
English
known
media
they've
are
been there
literally
for the taking.
a solid wank over this win. The English media are jizzing. Like I've heard calls of this being the greatest performance of all time, shit like that. But just over the last 18 months, this New Zealand team is not as good as previous New Zealand teams.
No. And to summarize that, I mean, England beat New Zealand in every facet of the game. And
Yeah.
got
If anything, they should have won by more.
and
They should have
out
won
of
by
that
so
they
much
got
more.
most of the 50-50 calls in the game. Which
Yeah.
speaks volumes about, should we say, like a transference of respect from the refs?
I think they've even discussed, a lot of people have been discussing how the refs generally give the advantage to the team going forward.
Yes.
And I think that's definitely been a theme in this World Cup. In our game, at points in time, we got the 50-50s. Even last week.
When you're winning all the collisions,
Yeah.
you know, like even on defense, England were hitting them back. It's not like they were giving up gain line a lot of the time, unless in the wider channels. Obviously, there's going to be a bit more space, but like in the forwards, England fucked them up. And when England had the ball, they were going forward all the time, so the defense has to track back. We just watched that first 2 minutes where England scored. Every single phase, England went forward. There wasn't one stage where New Zealand even stopped them on the gain line, and it just continued for the rest of the game. It was a thrashing.
So an unbelievable performance by England.
Yeah, I think
Very
England
complete.
kicked really well as well.
Yeah. They're looking like world champions, and I think and when I say we, the Springboks are really going to have to bring something special to tame this, because
Yeah, they're looking.
like I'm
very
feeling
strong at
minorly
the moment.
uncomfortable.
And if you're looking at their team, there's also youngsters, so they're gonna be strong going forward as well. Like I think the Springbok
They
and
are.
England journeys. We discussed this. We might have discussed this in one of the earlier pods where South Africa were at such a low point and England were at such a low point. I actually saw the rankings of the teams after the last World Cup. England were ranked 8th in the
Jeez.
world after the last World Cup, mate. So like, just think about this. I think South Africa were also ranked like 7th or 8th at one stage over the last 2 years, or over the last 4 years. So they came with that hurt. They know how it is to be at the bottom, and I'm not surprised to see both of these two teams in the final.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. Other than on the point that it's going to take something special. I think it's going to take something special from either of these teams. It's a World Cup final, guys.
Yeah.
And I think it could genuinely go either way. Like I said earlier, I'm loving that we're being written off, because I back our boys. I'm actually
we have been backing them.
unbelievably confident. Like, not in the sense that I definitely think we're going to win, but I'm so confident in the structures that we have in place, how well we play going forward, especially in pressure situations, how our team reacts as well, you know?
Maturity.
We've shown that maturity, and like you guys said, we have the right guys coming off the bench. You know, I think we just have a unit which, even though we haven't seen it just yet, maybe the World Cup final is when we put in an 80-minute performance. And
And just like
if
those,
we just did
those
that,
little micro
you know?
skills of the offloads and stuff come off, and we will throw a couple. Like, we know we are gonna probably have to score a try to win this game. Well, either way, like I think there might even be one try in this game, and whoever scores that wins the game. Because there are such fine margins between these two teams. Shall we go to like the standout players of this game, because it was an epic, and we can't talk about this game without talking about Itoje.
Jeez, it was potentially the best individual performance I've ever seen from a player. Everything went his way. I think he caused like 4 turnovers of possession. Even that one take where the ball just bounced into his hands. I was like, everything's going his way today.
He did everything. It was unbelievable, because we discussed it as a big battle last week, where Brody versus Itoje, and fuck man, Itoje was unbelievable.
Jeez.
Like, he was unbelievable. There's no other way to put it. He won every single battle throughout the game.
Won a couple of lineouts.
I don't think I've ever seen a more complete performance for a full 80 minutes, and that, especially in such a pressurized environment against the best. You know, you're playing Brody fucking Italic right now. And Brody also gave a little bit. In that first 30, he was pushing back, like making a couple of breaks, but Itoje for the entire game just dominated every fucking thing he did, man.
It was good.
Yeah, basically hands down the performance of the tournament so far for me.
Well, I don't know. The commentators were making some serious mentions of Kyle Sinclair. Like, he was one of the most mentioned names on the field.
I thought he had a solid performance. Played at first receiver a lot and ran the show. It was great to see. Just out the back the whole time.
It was, just to see that skill level from a prop. Like, and this goes back to the New Zealand, how none of their props have
that skill,
that micro skill. And you saw it under pressure on the weekend. Like, when players came on, so many balls just went to ground. You know, like, poor passing under pressure.
Bowden Barrett.
Everyone, like, there were balls going over people's heads. There were balls going out to touch. There were balls, like just bobbling along the floor from like passes, which you never see. And England, their forwards, Kyle Sinclair, what a performance!
Jeez.
Like, he did
exactly
so much.
what he had to do.
He did and more.
Yeah, I mean, but we also have to touch on George Ford. I thought he had an unbelievable game.
We did touch on him.
Probably the best game I've seen him play.
If you look at, like, you know, we Southern Hemisphere people, we watch Southern Hemisphere rugby. We watch Super Rugby, we watch Rugby Championship. We don't watch fucking
rugby.
Six Nations. Nobody here gives a fuck about Six Nations. So we don't really know a lot of these players. For them, I'm sure it's the same, and that's why they're probably writing us off equally, because they still think of us as a team like, we lost to Italy not long ago, which is fair. But they are underestimating us as much as we are underestimating them, in essence, you know? Like, there's certain... Like,
I don't think we are underestimating them as much as they are underestimating
that
us.
But
performance,
I do think that there is definitely the mindset of, okay, they're from the South, they know how to play rugby, they're good at rugby, but I don't think they understand the extra value add, which is we will go down those trenches and we will play damn hard rugby from start to finish if need be.
Dude, Eddie Jones will get the same out of them,
He will, they have a couple of injuries. Some Oaks are not. Whereas
they're not fully fit.
Look, in our team, we have Oaks coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Look,
you've been lucky with injuries.
Guys,
we have been, but I mean, Trevor, it's the final, Trevor, that was a huge loss.
It was.
You know, it's not like we haven't had injuries.
Exactly. But the beauty of it is we could just call up, who came in? Thomas Itoje.
Yeah, Thomas Itoje.
It's not like he was ever going to play a vital key role in this. It's just it's going to be literally the biggest game in terms of physicality and brutal collisions that we have ever seen with our eyes.
I think there's going to
in
be a lot
rugby
of blood
ever.
on that
Like, I'm
field.
telling you for sure, because just with the physicality of the players today, everything, the training, just
Also,
the size.
it's a World Cup final.
There is never going to be bigger collisions than there is going to be this weekend. Both teams, it's the two biggest packs ever created in terms of skill and size.
So are we going with the Clash of the Titans?
Definitely. two
Definitely.
forward backs. Because that's where
Okay,
it's
so
going to be
title
one.
for the next pod, Clash of the Titans. Just throwing that out
Whatever
there.
we want to say, it's going to be one in the forwards. And you can't get two better forward backs than we're going to have this weekend. It's fucking going to be
Agreed.
epic. I
I'm
can't
keen.
wait. The collisions, man.
I don't think
I just
anybody
wanna
can wait.
Dude, I just want to
It's
see
gonna be
big
epic,
hits,
man.
like epic mauling, you know, racking and shit like that. Like,
Okay, so let's take you
So
down for a
good.
walk down memory lane here for a moment. But if you had to call a play of the week, not player, play of the week,
I think for me it's
your boy.
I don't know. I think it's gonna have to be the Tuilangi try. That was a sensational period of play. Took the All Blacks completely off guard as well, and just the skill level from the forwards, the offloads, everything in that play
like I was
was
saying, they
sensational.
got go for it all the time. And they got ahead early. It was vital in that game. Agreed. I'm going to go with the flow low steal.
No, you love a good steal.
I hadn't been worried throughout this whole World Cup until that like 72nd minute when they went through about 8 phases.
And we're just
outside
thinking
our
Jerome
big
Goss
game.
says he's gonna blow us up.
Yeah,
Do
no, I was
not
feeling the same.
get just discipline. And Flo Low came up with a vital steal. And I'm going to throw in with the Flo Low steal the Faf chip. Like
Oh,
it needs to be
jeez,
mentioned.
that
That
was
Faf banana
sensational.
kick, because that sealed the game. It was sensational. It was like, that was the best thing he did all tournament. And he picked the right minute. It was like the 77th minute. He got it into the
Perfectly.
22.
Timing.
And nobody's going to break the Springboks down from 90 meters. Literally, there is no team who can do it. And no team is even going to try.
Yeah, I mean,
It was
I think we
sensational.
kicked pretty well, especially towards the end. And I think that might be where we could hurt England. You know, if we go up and we just make them play from there off,
Yeah,
Look.
we need to get ahead.
we do need to get ahead.
So who's your play?
My
What's
play
your
of the
play of the
week.
week?
Oh, guys, come on. Let's
what's
just
your
give
play of
it
the
to like Damian, because honestly, a try was stolen from him the week previous. I mean, it really was, and that was heartbreaking. And the fact that he could get a try this time round, stoked for the guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely stoked.
Was sensational.
And-
I
and
was.
I mean-
And like, how did he score that?
and-
Like, it makes no
How
sense.
did he
was
score
so
from
far
there?
out.
And
Nobody-
for me, a try was what we needed in the
Yes,
game.
it was a vital, because the game was 9-all. It was just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
A moment of magic.
And that's what we
Well,
needed.
it was piss poor defense. Like, what the
was.
fuck? How is nobody trying to tackle you
But he
now in that situation?
capitalized.
3 oaks.
You ran from almost the 22.
Yeah,
just
but
like
I guess
fending oaks off
I
at the
guess
top. What
from
the fuck are
there
you
as
guys
well,
doing?
it's Damian, so he's gonna go forward whether you're
Yes.
tackling him
Yeah.
or not. So you need to kind of get ball and all. So I
It
can
helped us a
understand.
lot this weekend. Our Wales defend, where they try and tackle the first receiver high and ball and all. So Damian got over the gain line
Quick.
10
Yeah.
times out of 10 against bigger this weekend, which was vital for us.
I mean, I was a bit worried to see that we lost a couple of balls in contact.
Yes.
Though.
Dwayne
Just
lost
guys
one,
ripping
Faf
the
lost
ball.
one, was a bit soft.
But let's not talk about those points because
Yeah.
we won at the end.
What is your player of the weekend?
I
Who
don't
is
think
your
there's
player of the
even
weekend?
a doubt about this, guys. Mario Itoje, like we said, the best individual performance we've ever seen potentially, other than Malcolm Marx last year.
Malcolm Marx against the All Blacks 2017 at Newlands.
Yeah,
That
but
is
if we
also
won that
one of the
game,
mo-
it
yeah,
would've
if
been-
we won, we lost that game.
yeah, by 1 point.
Oh, I made good
But-
money off those tickets.
Yeah, sensational though. That was up there.
Ah.
Just what? Yeah, sensational. I'm gonna go with someone different though. I'm gonna and I'm gonna go for Peter Itoje. Unsung.
Oh, he's one of
Just
your faves,
because
though.
we have said he hasn't quite hit the heights yet, and he just had, like I said, a world-class blindside performance. It's been just because it's such a underutilized position nowadays, and there's no stopping brute force like that. He made some big hits. He,
Well, he
got
showed
some,
the value
He
out of
showed
it.
his tank, man. He almost made 20 tackles in the game. It was a fucking
It was
beast.
sensational.
Yeah, I really thought that was my player of the weekend, and I hope he gets better coming into this weekend.
So I could go with Damian again, but I'm actually going to put one out here. And the little blonde guy, honestly, he stole my heart this weekend. Faf. He always reminds me of a Jack Russell. He has no idea that he is probably the smallest man on the field. And size really doesn't make a difference in any battle he goes into, and I've got to respect him for that. And his amount of I'd love to know his stats coming out of that game, but his involvement, he was everywhere all the time, and he was gunning for it and remained calm under pressure. It was gorgeous. I mean, the
it was
guy
summed up in that kick at the end.
and
Like, it was his best, and just like,
going into scrums, feeling calm, no edge on
he
him.
was very calm.
And serious hats off to him. So he's my player of the week.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean,
good.
going into the last 10 minutes, I heard a couple of Oaks calling for Herschel to
I
come
know.
on, you know?
And I'm like, as he showed that he stuck with Faf.
Yeah,
The
and
pressure.
also this week compared to last week, whereas last week he actually brought on Herschel, and this week he stuck with Faf. So
You could, because we were, 20
yeah,
points
we
up
were
against
way
Japan
against
last week.
Japan.
I do honestly think that you could bringing Herschel in does have its upside.
Game breaker. If
But
we need
We
that
game
extra.
bring it, but Faf had it under control the whole time, and that's what's so beautiful.
He did, and he only got better. Like, I thought his kicking game was a
He
lot
grew
better.
into
He
the
was
game
more,
well.
Yeah.
His defense, man. Like, is there a pound for pound better defender in the world? Nobody in the world
Definitely not.
for Faf declared.
You mean back Faf to take down Kieran Reid
He's
in full
gonna,
flight?
dude. I've seen him monster Vunipola and Mado Itoje
Once
last year.
again,
Last year when
that-
they came here,
that
he
Jack-
monstered them. He literally.
That Jack
So-
Russell mentality reigns strong. He has no, it's, and then we get another cliche saying, I'm got a lot of them tonight, but it's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog.
Yes.
And I literally think that this is where it comes to the fore, in the form of Faf. So my player of the week, I'm glad we got some conversation going about him. That was cool. And rolling straight into dud of the week.
Don't take it so.
Yeah, I mean, it's for me. It's gonna have to be Steve Hansen. Like I said earlier, one arrogant prick.
Yeah, you can't be leaving Ryan Karate and Ben Smith not even in your matchday
Defies
squad.
belief.
Not in your matchday squad, even if you're not starting them. Those are guys you can bring on under pressure, and you could see they were under pressure. Like in a
From
game
the
like
first
that, you
2
couldn't
minutes,
even
man.
bring them on like in the 30 minutes. Like
Literally.
just to calm things down and talk to the players around them. They've got the experience. They've won titles. It
Potentially
defies belief, mate. Like you said.
make moments of magic. Dude, Ben Smith, come on, man.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Just the brains. So fair enough. I'm gonna go with someone different, and I am gonna say that Springbok front row. I mean the All Black front row.
I was about to say, I'm
Yeah,
like, excuse
like,
me, what?
whoa.
Sorry, the All Black
Yeah.
front row, because they just cuck, man. People need to say it.
We've been saying it though.
They
Joe
are shit.
Moody.
Like Joe Moody, Nipola Lala, Angus Ta'aba, and Tuf Ungafasi. They're just not international quality props. Like, they don't have the, yeah. Dude, they can't win collisions.
Skill
The
level,
skill
even.
level is not. If you can't win collisions at the international level,
You
your
lose against.
team is not going to
you
win.
lose against
Like,
England.
that's the difference. No, but your team is not going to win against decent packs. So this might be a massive issue for New Zealand going forward, because it's not like they just can bring other props in who are going to be dominant or add that extra value. Like,
Yeah, I
this
mean-
is a serious issue.
I think you could honestly make an argument for Thomas Itoje potentially starting for them
Probably
comfortably.
in-
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
And he doesn't. He's
gets
not
go
even
for it.
considered
You
for
know, he
us.
gets go for it every time he has the ball. He's got
Yeah.
a skill set. Yeah, for me. Who's yours?
No,
Dad of the week.
that of the week.
Every week.
Every week. I'm sorry. I mean, at least I'm consistent.
Fair.
I mean, if we're going to be looking at that as a quality that he lacks, for me, it's Villy Leroux. I just can't understand. I also think that he's been given plenty of opportunity to step up to the plate, and yet he's failed to do so. And he puts an unnecessary amount of pressure on the other players to cover up or counter his fuck ups. And I'm done. I'm actually done.
Yeah, it's the World Cup final now.
It's
Like, fuck.
not okay anymore, and I shouldn't have to feel panicked as a fan, as a spectator, sitting there going, oh my God, he's got the ball. He's got the ball. What are we going to do? Oh my God, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
pure mono
Dude, it's
panic.
a World Cup final. The margins are going to
And
so small.
you can hand it to 14 other men, and I'm like cheering. But the minute you hand it to him, I'm like, oh God, here we go.
And
So
it
for
just-
me,
it is in a final
Straight
of
up.
a World Cup.
Also,
dud of the week.
he honestly hasn't done anything this World Cup.
Yeah, he's done
Absolutely nothing.
Well, maybe he's great for like changing room
communication.
banter
So
or
everybody talks
something.
about his communication in the back three, which makes sense. But if you're not even doing the
Well, then-
basic skill levels of the game,
Well, then that's fine.
and he's doing it every game.
Then move
those
himself
areas.
out of the game and then tell all the other Oaks what to do, and he sits on the sidelines.
Fair
I'm
enough.
cool with that. Then go into a coaching role.
What I do think,
But I'm out.
and
Hard out.
yeah, we just can't afford one guy to make 4 errors this
No.
weekend, or 4 turnovers. You know, you just
So,
cannot afford that.
so I think that, I mean, that very much leads us into conclusion of this pod is final thoughts going into the final.
Shall we just make it quick?
Yep.
What are your thoughts? Can the Bucks win this weekend? A quick 5-second summary.
Yes! Come on, Booker! Yo! I've never been this amped. It's been so long. And we're back, baby. We are back. We're gonna do it. I don't see how we don't do it. I know you guys could hear a clear difference there, but I'm amped. And I'm sure you are too.
What are your thoughts?
I think if there was a team and a coach to do it, I think it's this team, and I think it's Russie driving that home,
Yeah.
and these guys want it, and I think as much as England can win it, so can we.
I totally agree with all of you guys. I'm going to say yes because we've got the best back in the world. And look at Eddie Jones, he's going to throw some curveballs, but Rassie is a master tactician as well.
Russie has shown.
We have the skill coming off the bench. Our bench is going to win us this game, so I'm going to go with the Springboks to win. Yeah,
Also,
I do back us to win this game.
I love the way that we've played, and that I think we've actually played this perfectly. The game being tight against Wales was actually ideal for us, and England
It was
beating
a
New
true
Zealand
test.
convincingly. Because, look, we didn't really touch on this, but guys, how do you get more psyched for a game? If you know what I mean. I understand
If
it's a
you're
World Cup
underdog.
final, but like, yeah, I mean, like in terms of for England, they are the favorites by far. For them, last week would have taken so much out of them mentally and physically.
Physically.
We saw
Yeah.
Owen Farrell's on one leg.
Yeah,
you know,
Johnny May's out.
Yeah.
Definitely. The scrum off, the backup scrum off, Willie Hines.
Willie
They
Hines.
had to fly in a new scrum off as well. So they've got hits. Even I think Itoje and Sinclair got hits. Sinclair went off with a little bit of a knock as well. So
Also, England's going to be coming into this final with both mental and physical attrition, and we're coming in a full package.
yeah.
And the underdogs by far, apparently.
I'll be an underdog any day of the week.
Okay,
I'm happy
so-
with that.
Another question: should we drop Billy?
You know what? I'm so glad I'm not the SA coach. So I'm going to leave that decision with Russie. I've said my piece.
I'm gonna say yes.
I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Then you
Like,
can't stay.
yeah,
we
France
can
stay
bring
in
Billy on
immediately.
if we need him.
I do
discussed
think that Russie has a greater plan, and he can see what we are seeing. So there's obviously something that he has in mind that we aren't seeing, and I trust the man.
Yeah.
So you
Fair
know
enough.
what? If Philly starts,
Maybe Billy starts and he has the best game of his career,
life.
which we
You never know.
you know,
we
the
need
fact
him
that
to.
he is
he needs
so
to.
consistently inconsistent, the chance is highly likely.
Look, guys,
Yeah,
whether he
actually.
plays or not, I'm backing us to win,
Mm.
and I will back him all the way. We're
If
going
he
all the
starts,
way,
if he
guys.
starts,
We're
we gotta
going
back the
all the
boy.
way.
So,
yeah,
I
I think we've touched on.
Yeah, we
pretty much
did.
everything.
So this rounds out the podcast rather nicely. I think everyone should be getting their Super Brew picks in right now.
Yeah, once we
I'm
get the
actually
team
looking
sheet.
fairly dominant in both my office pool as well as the Springbok Twitter pool as well as just the general rugby pool. So guys, get your selections in. Throw us a couple of tweets
It's
at
World
Rugby
Cup
Digest
final week.
SA on Twitter.
Oh, let's
Does it
do
get
this,
better
boys.
than this as a fan? Like, does it get
and
better
Come
than
get
on,
this?
Booker.
psyched. Like,
If we-
this is
I mean,
amazing.
sitting in the office today, I was struggling so bad. Just rugby on the brain, mate. What? I can't concentrate on anything
No,
else.
you really can't.
It's
This
a
is
fucking World Cup
all we
final this
discuss
weekend.
all the time.
It's been so long.
So if you
12 years.
really are struggling to get yourself psyched, I think it is well worth going back through the history books. Just watch a couple of old games. You can start 1995 and build yourself up from there.
Yeah, I mean,
Because-
2007, it's
yeah,
a repeat.
exactly.
One thing we
so you
haven't
need
also
the
mentioned,
emotions.
this is going, if the Springboks can pull this off, it will be one of the greatest comeback stories of all time.
And we'll make another movie.
Of all
about
time,
it.
from Japan 4 years ago, from losing to Italy and stuff.
Yes,
You know?
57-0 against New Zealand. This could be the quickest and greatest comeback, just in terms of
Well,
how
let's
quickly Rassie has turned the ship around.
let's hope it plays out exactly like that.
Yeah, but
And
we'll be
Back
we'll be
our
back.
boys.
We'll be back for
Yeah,
a
so
pod
we'll drop
later
a
in
pod with the squad announcements, and we'll take it from there.
the- Yeah.
Sweet.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.